Welcome to The Car Guy with your host, Klaus Kindor. Currently, Klaus owns Classic Car Holdings, LLC here in Spokane, a boutique dealer specializing in vintage, collectible, and contemporary automobiles. The Car Guy is sponsored in part by European Autohaus and Can-Am Body Shop. Here's Klaus.
Good morning and welcome to The Car Guy. My name is Klaus Kinder. I'm your host this morning. I'd like to invite or introduce you to Mr. Greg Linafelter from European Autohaus. Morning, Greg.
Well, good morning, Klaus.
How are
Thank
you?
you for having me.
Oh,
I'm wonderful.
Terrific. Good to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
We've known each other a while.
We have.
We have. We've also been in this business a while.
A little bit.
I hate to admit how long, but when did you start in this wonderful business?
Started 1979, first part of 79.
So the better part of 40 years
40
you and I have been
years.
doing this.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Where did you start your
we
career in the automobile business?
I started my career in California, Bay Area, Silicon Valley. Great place to grow up back in the 60s,
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
Got a little crowded down there, so we bailed and moved to Spokane, Washington.
And when did you do that?
2000, bought our place in 2001, and I had to stick around to sell my business there, and I didn't make it up till the beginning of 2003.
Okay, cool. And you've been in Spokane since
What since
2001?
2003.
2003.
My family moved up before me.
Okay.
Like I said, I stayed behind to sell the business and train the new owner.
Right. And did you open European Autohaus the moment you moved up here, or did you do something else first?
No, I did not. I
Okay.
actually took a few months off to work on the house we were building that we now live in up here. When I went back to work, I went to work for a small shop here called Mechanic Masters.
Isn't that downtown?
It used to be downtown.
Right.
Actually, I don't.
And Tony?
Tony Longinati.
Yeah.
The name morphed several times. It was Master Mechanics, and when I went to work for him, it was Mechanic Masters up on North Monroe. Worked for him for about a year and a half, and he followed another dream and moved back east to take on another career. So at that point, I had to make a decision: either go find another job at another shop or open back up. So I opened European Autohaus in 2005.
Terrific. And you guys specialize primarily in German cars?
We only do German.
Only German cars, right.
When we first started, we were taking in anything European, but we've gotten so busy that we were able to whittle that back to just German.
Right. You and I, again, we've been in this business longer than we both care to admit, I think. What's changed?
Wow.
Is there enough time in
What's
a half
changed?
an hour to discuss what's changed in automobiles over the last 40 years? I don't think so.
Not
but
specifically,
Right.
but when I started in this business, I went to work for a couple of brothers who came over from Germany and opened their own shop after working at a dealership. I think they both worked at dealerships for a few years. And all we did was Audi Volkswagen. They took me on as an apprentice. And most of what we worked on at that point was carbureted.
Yeah.
Fuel injection was new. It just
Yep.
come out. Most of those cars were still under warranty. So yeah, when you look at the changes that have happened, that seems like it was a slow change. Looking back on it, going from carburation to fuel injection to electronic ignition, and then when we get closer to current times, the technology has ramped up and things are getting interesting, to say the least, much more challenging. No longer are we mechanics who turn wrenches all day long.
True.
We still do that, but now we have to have a whole nother set of skills.
And a whole new
tools.
set of tools.
Expensive
Expensive tools.
Very expensive.
And I think that's something that our viewers, probably don't understand or may not understand, is the technology level, the increase in technology level in today's automobiles, how complicated they've become and how difficult they have become to diagnose, as an example.
Yes.
The time, the amount of time that it can take to find out what's wrong with an automobile today, it can be just mind-blowing.
It is. Most of our training to repair these cars is in the shop. It's just getting in there and figuring out how they work before we can actually get down to diagnosing why it's not working
And actually
properly.
correcting the problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can take hours and hours and hours just to be able to determine what's causing a fault, or for a car not to run properly, or to shift properly, or
Yeah.
air conditioning not to work properly. And it's just a huge sum of things, because when I started in the business, like you, in 78, 79, technicians or mechanics really did a lot more mechanical work.
Oh yeah,
We did
You
engine
replaced
overhauls. We
water
did,
pumps and
yeah.
alternators and belts and hoses.
And you did engine overhauls and transmission overhauls, and we really don't see that today.
No, those types of repairs, even though we still have to replace some of those components, but yeah, that's no longer the bulk of our workload these days. It's,
Right.
Probably the number one complaint we have when a car comes in is a check engine light now, and yeah, tracking that down. All of the computer systems in these cars, I mean, it's getting interesting, to say the least. I mean, it's very, very challenging.
Oh, yeah. I remember in, oh my goodness, it must have been 85 or 86 when I was a service advisor for Mercedes-Benz. The check engine light was now just becoming a thing that was mandated by a number of states, California being one of them, right? And these bloody things would come on really for no reason. And it got to the point where we'd teach our clients how to reset them so they wouldn't have to come by every morning.
Yeah, back in the day when you could do that yourself.
Exactly right. How... I know that back in the day, technicians were making really, really good money. And they were paid on kind of what's referred to as a flat labor rate. In other words, it's a particular job paid X amount of time to do the job. And if you were really proficient and you were a good technician, let's say as an example, a job paid 3 hours. And if it only took you 2 as a technician, you still got paid 3. And basically what was happening is as a technician, you were being paid for your expertise, right? You learned how to do this. Here's a question that I think will blow our viewers away. The average technician, how much money is in his toolbox?
Oh, man. The average, I don't know if I can give you an average, but I would say any technician that's been at this for more than several years is easily north of 50,000, and probably 100,000 would not be out of the question in toolbox tools.
It's a mind-blowing amount of money.
It
is.
is.
It really is. I go to buy tools. I do a little, as you know, I do very little mechanical work because I'm really not very good at it. I have a gift of gab rather than a gift of hands, right? But it's amazing how much this stuff costs. And particularly if you're buying from a good manufacturer like Cornwell or Snap-on or somebody like that, you're paying how much for a screwdriver?
Oh yeah, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
We have a serious shortage of technicians coming into this field, and partly I think our industry has done a poor job of promoting this industry as one that can be a very rewarding career, one that you can make good money. I mean, I want to say, you're probably not going to get rich. Depends what you call rich, I guess. But also the schools and parents, I think, are the other half of that equation. Our kids over the last, I don't know, probably at least 20, maybe 30 years have been programmed that you have to go to college and get a 4-year degree. Totally discounting the service trades, skilled trades, if you will. Ours is not the only industry that's experiencing this problem.
No, goodness, no.
Yeah, plumbers, carpenters, electricians. Those trades are starting to do a much better job of putting together apprentice programs, and they've been around for a while. Automotive had an apprentice program. When I started, they called it apprenticeship. Wasn't
not an apprenticeship.
Credit,
not an apprenticeship like we know. As an example, when my father was growing up in Germany, and he went to a trade school, and he became a master mechanic.
Right.
And there was truly an apprenticeship that you performed. At first you started cleaning parts, and then you started shagging parts.
Yeah.
And then you started putting tools together for the technician who was actually working on the car.
It was schooling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
right.
that's why I say I think our industry has kind of done a poor job. Some of the folks over in the west side of the state have actually put together an actual accredited automotive apprenticeship program that's just now taking off. It just got off the ground here, I think, a few months ago.
Oh, that's terrific.
Trying to turn things around and get things rolling.
You know, if you love cars, like you and I love cars, I mean, we do what we do for a living because it pays us, but we also do it because there's a lot of passion to it for us.
Oh, there's a very rewarding.
Can a kid, you know, coming out of high school get into this trade and do well?
Yes. I think if they have the proper mindset for this, you know, it's not for everyone. I think those who have that natural mechanical mindset, you know, they want to know how something works. To me, those are the guys that I look for when I am looking for employees. You know, there are schools to learn how to do this, but like I said, it's not for everyone. Not everyone just has that natural ability to look at something and say, "Oh, that's why it doesn't work."
Yeah, I don't possess it. I can take something apart pretty well.
Yeah.
And then I put all this stuff on the table and I go,
Now what?
Exactly.
And that's when
and
you
then
bring
I
it
call
in.
you.
It costs double, for us to fix it. So.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Diagnostic time. I think our viewers should, I don't know if should is the right number, or right word, but I think it may be difficult for our viewers to comprehend sometimes how long it can take to diagnose a problem with an automobile in today's cars. I think it was a whole lot easier when you and I started. You know, there was less electronics involved. There was less, obviously there were no computers involved. There were no electronic control units involved for the most part. And we started seeing this stuff obviously in the early 80s, and it got worse and worse and worse and more prevalent and more prevalent and more prevalent. And today, oh my goodness, these cars are nothing but electronics.
Right.
You know, we don't generally have engine failures anymore. We don't generally have transmission failures anymore. The big components pretty much stay together.
For the most part.
For the most part. So, you know, if you're going to have a failure, chances are in today's automobiles it's going to be something electronic, you know. And the diagnostic time that it can take to determine what's wrong with your automobile can be
substantial.
And unfortunately, that also means it can be expensive.
Well, yeah. Well, that gets back to what we were talking about a minute ago. You know, we spend a lot of our, and I have to just call it training, that my training budget gets spent on unbilled hours in the shop, where I have to just turn my guys loose, even though I know I'm not going to charge that customer for all of that time that it took my tech to get to the answer. A lot of times that rate I charge, even though they look at it and say, "Well, you're going to charge me, to diagnose my car." It's like, well, yeah. I mean, in all honesty, it's usually we spent 2, 3, 4 times what we actually charge to get to the answer in some cases, not always.
And I got to be candid. There's a lot of shops that don't do what you do. They don't discount the amount of time that it takes to diagnose an automobile. They will charge the customer every hour that's spent trying to find out what's wrong with an automobile. And again, you guys are the exception. You're not the rule.
Well, there's a balance there. If you figure it out and you get the repair job. And well, let's get back to you were asking about flat rate. Some technicians work on a flat rate basis, meaning they get paid by the number of hours that job takes, regardless of whether they finish it quicker or take longer.
Right.
We don't do that in our shop. I pay my techs hourly. If they're at the shop, they're getting paid for the number of hours they're there. And I think there's pros and cons both ways. Flat rate can cause techs to rush sometimes because they're trying to make more hours.
Right.
On the flip side, hourly, they don't have any goal to meet, really. I mean, other than keeping the boss happy, I guess. But that allows them the time to actually dig into the car and figure it out, which I think in the long run, once you have figured out how a system works, the next time that one comes in, you're way ahead of the game.
Sure.
And you can figure it out a lot faster. So, like I said, it's a balanced deal. I might have 8 hours of unbilled time to figure out this one car, but the next one comes in, I'm going to make up, an hour on each one that comes in.
There you go. There you go. I think all cars, or not all cars, but some cars have idiosyncrasies. Something comes in and something's not functioning. Chances are it is this, because we've experienced this before.
Pattern failures.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that's
exactly right.
One reason I think I chose to specialize. It makes that a little bit easier. But like we were talking about earlier, the new technology, even those, is becoming a huge challenge for us to
I got a little buzz in my ear. I think we're going to take a couple second break here. I want to thank you again for coming in. I want to thank you for sponsoring our show. European Autohaus is the only place I would take a German car, folks, I'm telling you. And, of course, we got to thank the nice folks at Can-Am as well. With that, we'll take a couple second break. Huh, Vinny?
Can-Am Body Shop has been a family-owned business for 50 years, and we would like to invite you to try our local automotive body repair services. We offer a variety of services, including full-service collision repair, frame and unibody repair, air condition services, and fiberglass repair. We have a certified spray booth. We're on a gold level with Spokane Clean Air, and we are willing to work with all insurances. And you'll always get a written lifetime warranty with any of our services. Give us a call at 509-534-3044 or visit our shop at 7706 East Boone Lane. That's 7706 East Boone Lane.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us again on The Car Guy. I'm Klaus, and this is Greg Linafelter from European Autohaus. Great to have him here this morning. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
We were talking about how much technicians today have invested in their money in tools, and it's a huge number. 50 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand. Let's elaborate on that a little bit. You're going to go to work, and you're going to have to pay for your own tools in order to do the work you do.
I think that's one of the things the industry needs to fix a little bit, is these young kids come in to start in this industry, and all of a sudden they need to buy, $10,000-$20,000 worth of tools just to get rolling. I think as an industry we need to maybe make provision, maybe provide a basic set of tools that, if they're there for a certain length of time, those become theirs, or however you want to work that out. But
well, first you got to get the cost of the toolbox.
Well, yeah, toolboxes are not cheap anymore. But you were asking about whether they can make a good living at this. Yeah, I mean, my techs make way above the probably median income here in Spokane. But if you compare this job with something you might go to school for, you want to become a PA, a doctor, or one of those types of occupation.
An attorney, a professional person.
Yeah, you look at the schooling and what that's going to cost you, and you're going to come out of there with these maybe student loans of, $100,000, $200,000, whatever that is. It's like, okay, well, maybe makes the tool purchase look a little more appealing. But yeah, that's something that is a hard one to swallow when you're first getting started, because typically your wage is going to be quite a bit less as you start. But that's another thing I think our industry is going to have to work on, is getting that up to a point where these kids can afford to buy the tools and get rolling, and not be struggling to do so.
And it's neat that you charge or you pay your technicians by the hour rather than what was referred to as a flat rate hour. And I think there's some protection there, number one, for the consumer, because when we talk about flat rate hour work, in other words, like I said earlier, let's say a particular job pays 3 hours to do. If you're really a remarkably competent technician and you get it done in 2, you still get paid 3. But if it takes you 4 or 5 hours, you still only get paid 3 hours, right? And there's some protection there for the consumer. How do you keep your clients loyal to you?
How do I keep my clients
Because
loyal?
you have a huge loyal following at European Autohaus.
It's pretty simple. You fix their car right, you do it for a fair price, and that's all it really takes. I mean, it's not rocket science.
It's pretty darn simple, isn't it?
Yeah. The hard part for me sometimes is, even when you do everything right, occasionally you'll have that customer that's still not happy. These cars are really expensive to maintain these days.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people just sometimes don't understand how much it really costs to maintain a car.
Exactly.
I've looked back. Our shop software system keeps track of how much my customers have spent in total over the years, and if I showed that to them, after a few years, how much they spent on that car, most of them would be shocked that they may have bought that car a couple times over just maintaining it. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a pricey proposition.
And yet, I think your customers in particular, would also realize that they've probably saved 25 to 40% over taking it to a different facility. Because I have had quotes on automobiles that I've had in inventory where I needed specific work done. And I've been told it's going to cost this much, and I've been told it's going to cost this much, and I take it to you, and it generally costs me considerably less. And
So you're saying I don't charge enough? Is that
exactly
basically what you're
exactly
saying?
right. You're not charging enough, Greg.
I got a lot of customers that would probably disagree with you.
No, I can't emphasize enough how fair you are to your clients. I really can't. And it's something that's unique in this business.
Yeah, we try. I mean, like I said, even when I am as fair as I can be, sometimes things don't go well and people aren't happy. But for the most part, we do our best to do the job right, and I think that's been a big part of our success.
Absolutely, it has. Absolutely, it has. And again, I hate to hit the hammer the point home, but after 40 years, I've never met another business owner who's treated their customers better. I truly not. So
thank you.
Kudos to you.
Thank
Truly,
you.
kudos to you. To those kids that are coming out of high school and they may not necessarily have the means to get into a good college and get that wonderful $200,000 student loan that will take them 30 years to pay off. How do they start? If they want to become a technician, an automotive technician, how do they start?
I'm glad you asked, because part of the problem we've had over the last 20, 30 years, where we've had this shift towards four-year degree and no skilled trades, we've lost a lot of our auto shops. You realize in Spokane, city of Spokane school district, there's only one remaining auto shop
Really?
course. There's New Tech Skill Center, where kids who want to take it at schools that don't have it, which there's only one, get bused there and they can take it there. But in the actual school, and when we grew up, almost every school had an auto shop.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the only one left right now is Shadle. And as a matter of fact, we just created an advisory board trying to breathe some new life into that one, and get it rolling again, and hopefully not reinvent, but rekindle desire, because college isn't for every kid.
No, it wasn't for me. Yeah, it wasn't for me.
Me neither. I mean, I did great in school. I could have gone, and I did go for one semester, but it's like I was not enjoying it. And then I went and got this job fixing cars, and I really enjoyed that. So we really need to realize that some kids are better suited for skilled trades than a four-year degree.
I think so,
going
too.
into the business world. So
I think so too. It's kind of lost my train of thought for a second there, but I was thinking, even at the age of 60, I would love to learn some of the things that you know about repairing automobiles and working on cars. I mean, I truly would. Again, I'm not gifted that way. I think there's an opportunity for these kids not only to learn how to work on the new cars, but the guys that have been around, like Obi, who worked for you for a number of years and finally retired at the age of 72. There's an awful lot of knowledge that he had that he's unfortunately taking with him and out of your shop. And that's hard to replace, if not almost impossible to replace. I would think that as a kid coming out of high school, if I really had a passion for cars, there might be an opportunity for me to start looking at some of these old cars, learning this old trade, because the guys that used to be able to work on them are very, very quickly going away, unfortunately.
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, talk about someone who's seen a lot of change in this industry. Obi started in the 60s. Yeah. And he gets it. I mean, he knows that if you're not willing to keep up and learn the new stuff, it's time to hang it up. So, thus, he did it till 72. But yeah, I think we're losing, a lot. And I may have this number wrong, but I know it's close. The average age of technicians right now in automotive repair shops is 55, I believe. Yeah, it's in the mid-50s. It's like, that's scary.
Because we're going to lose a lot of these guys with all this knowledge. That's going to
absolutely.
go away.
Yeah.
Right.
So
particularly on these older cars, and because I deal mostly in vintage and collectible cars, and it's getting more and more difficult to find people that can actually work on these things because they weren't around.
exactly, yeah,
They just weren't there.
the tools, the knowledge, you're right.
And see, I think there's an opportunity here for if you're a car guy, if you're a young car guy, and you truly love automobiles, I believe there's an opportunity there for you to carve yourself a little niche, as it were, of being able to work on these older cars and diagnose these older cars and fix these older cars, because I don't think they're going to go away. There's people that I deal with, my client base, who those are the cars they love, and those are the cars I love. I love the mechanical stuff. I like the raw cars. I don't like all this electronics and driver aids and all this good stuff. So I think there's an opportunity there. Maybe if you're a little bit younger and you're thinking about getting into a career that pays you pretty ding-dang good, I'll tell you what.
Yep. Well, there's good money to be made in this industry, and I think that's only going to get better, partly because of the shortage. We're going to have to start paying better, and which means we're going to have to charge more, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, I kicked myself a little bit for not getting a young tech in there to shadow Obi while he was there. I've been around doing it long enough. I can work on these things, but we need to get that knowledge passed on, and that's where I think we have failed as an industry to bring in the young kids and mentor them.
Yeah, let's hope maybe you and I can change that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it'd be great.
We're working on it.
Cool. It's great having you on the show this morning.
Well, thank
Truly
you.
loved it.
You know what?
And we're going to go get something to eat and spend half a day together and BS about what else? Cars. Thanks for joining us on the car guide this morning. My name is Klaus. This is Greg Linafelter from European Autohaus. Thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. The Car Guy is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for its content. The Car Guy is sponsored in part by European Autohaus and Can-Am Body Shop. Ask Klaus a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.